Making a good FNAF movie might just be impossible. Let me explain. With the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 a couple of weeks ago, we are now 2 movies into the FNAF movie franchise. And I gotta say, I'm torn. These movies are definitely a fun time, riddled with Easter eggs for true fans to discover and appreciate, but at the same time, Blumhouse is leaving so much on the table in terms of how good these movies could actually be. I mean, this sentiment is supported by the very mixed reviews these 2 movies have received. And look, I get that critics are never gonna love these movies like the FNAF fandom will, but for the vast majority of people who are just neutral like me, these movies are kinda just okay. I mean, by the time you're watching this video, you've probably seen 1,000 other videos from different creators saying the exact same thing. It's the classic, well hey, the animatronics and set locations look amazing, lots of cool Easter eggs, but everything else is kinda just questionable. Now, for this video, I don't want to just break down everything this movie did wrong. Instead, I want to propose an alternate perspective. Now that we have both of these movies and all of the discourse that's come with it, I'm starting to believe that making a good FNAF movie might just be impossible. Or at the very least, very difficult. And I'm not even knocking Blumhouse, the cast, or even the movies that we already have. I just think that making a good movie about the FNAF universe just seems pretty difficult. Now, before I get right into explaining why, let me just state that I am not a fan of the FNAF franchise. I've never played any of the games, never read any of the books. All I know about this franchise comes from the movies and those really cool lore videos on YouTube. So, if you are a true FNAF fan and you loved this movie, that's amazing. Despite their flaws, I still think these movies are a ton of fun, and I am excited for the 3rd movie. So maybe take this video with a slight grain of salt, because this is all coming from someone who's not a true fan of the franchise. But okay, now let's get into why I think that making a good FNAF movie may just be impossible. So first things first, we have to establish what a good FNAF movie would even look like. Once again, I'm no expert, but I've managed to boil it down to a pretty simple formula. If you want a good FNAF movie, it needs to be scary, and it needs to tell a good story. That's very oversimplified, but I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. FNAF is a scary game by definition, and it also has a very interesting lore. So if you want to make a movie, I think those are the 2 big things you need to make sure you do. And to be honest, the 2 movies we have so far are not really cutting it. Like, the story has been decent across these 2 movies. They're sort of creating their own timeline using different aspects of the game lore mixed with original ideas to create their own unique story. It's been fun, but I think most people would agree that the story isn't as good as it could be. But hey, the story isn't bad, and it's actually not the main issue with these movies. I think maybe the biggest downfall of FNAF 1 and 2 is that they're just not scary. I mean, FNAF 2 was definitely an improvement on the first film in terms of being scary, but still, I would say the only scenes you could maybe call scary are when Charlotte possesses Abby and the other girl. So in other words, I don't think anything with the main animatronics is scary at all. They look fantastic, and I really loved the role that the marionette played, but none of them were really scary. And just to hammer it home, I'll say it again. In a FNAF movie, the animatronics were not scary. I do think that's an issue. But something else I want to mention is that I don't really think these animatronics can even be scary outside of the pizzeria. Like, sure, if one of them was in your room at night, yeah, that's pretty scary. But I'm sorry, within a movie, I just can't buy the animatronics being a scary threat outside of the pizzeria. I just can't do it. I mean, unironically, the pizzeria gives them that dark and mysterious aura. You're alone in the dark, abandoned pizzeria. You don't know where the animatronics are, but they are watching you. On top of that, the pizzeria is big. There's tons of rooms, lots of twists and turns, there's basements. I mean, it is a scary environment when you are in the pizzeria, but once you take them out, for me at least, you kind of lose the whole mystique. Like, I'm sorry, bro, I'm not actually worried about Freddy walking through FazFest. Like this huge 8-foot tall, metallic, super loud and clunky machine that literally moves at a snail's pace. I know a couple of them are fast, but most of them are painfully slow, to the point where it seems like you could see them coming from like a mile away. And the same thing goes for Chica at the school. I just cannot buy into that being a scary situation. Now, if we were locked inside of a dark, abandoned school, and we know that Chica is somewhere roaming the halls looking for us, well, that's a different story. However, the outside settings we got in FNAF 2 were just not doing it for me. But why am I bringing this up? Well, I think to achieve that first requirement of a good FNAF movie, which is making it scary, you kind of have to contain the story to the pizzeria as much as you can. And I guess that sounds kind of easy, right? In theory, you should definitely be able to make a scary movie that mainly takes place within the pizzeria. The only issue that comes up is the more you contain the story within the pizzeria, the harder it then becomes to actually tell an entertaining story. I mean, look, you can't go full balls to the wall and make the entire movie take place within the pizzeria, because then the story probably wouldn't be that good. Typically in movies, you have to have multiple characters, different subplots, different locations, that's a big one, and confining a movie to just the pizzeria makes it a whole lot more difficult to tell a complete story. I mean, don't get me wrong, die-hard fans would definitely love something like this because they love the games, but this would objectively be kind of a bad movie. You gotta have some sort of outside storylines. But look, at the same time, if you're not in the pizzeria for long enough, it starts to feel like your story isn't that scary, or at least there aren't many scary moments. I think FNAF 2 does a decent enough job at treading this line, but it ultimately falls flat by just not having scary scenes. And some of the outside storytelling isn't that great either. But do you see what I mean? There is a healthy balance of enough time in the pizzeria for it to feel scary. But then you also need enough time outside of the pizzeria so you can have your outside storylines to make the movie good. And that's why I believe that making a good FNAF movie may just be impossible. Or at the very least, very difficult. And this may piss some people off, but I think that's very evident by the fact that we haven't really gotten a good one yet. These movies are well made and you can tell they care about the franchise, but the writing and some of the creative choices really hurt these movies. Like in FNAF 2, they had some really cliche horror movie tropes that honestly took you straight out of the movie. I mean, it's the classic tripping over nothing, every adult character in the opening scene is just the stupidest person in the world, and much more. Like that whole scene with the teacher and Chica, I just cannot take it seriously. I mean, you start with Chica breaking through the glass door, which was actually pretty cool, but then the chase started. The teacher and Chica were both moving at an unbelievably slow pace. Then the teacher conveniently trips over pretty much nothing, and then when he gets up, instead of just running away, he hides under a table. Now, to be fair, maybe he knew he couldn't outrun Chica, and maybe he's just hoping that she gives up, but in reality, he is just waiting to be captured. But yeah, that was kind of a long tangent, so let's sum this up. Are the FNAF movies bad? No, I wouldn't say so. Now, are they good? I don't know. If I wanted to be generous and mainly focus on the fact that they're fun and the animatronics look amazing, then sure, you could call these movies good. They're a good time. But I think through a more objective lens, they're just okay. And it sucks because from the small amount of FNAF content I've consumed, this is a very dark yet kind of captivating story. Like, you could definitely make some Oscar-level movies adapting the FNAF lore. It's such a tragic story, and it's really unlike anything else I've ever watched. Now, I do want to say with the movies we have, I am happy. Once again, I look forward to them each time they come out, and I'm excited for the next one. But these movies could just be so much better than what they are. But as we discussed in this video, that's not an easy thing to accomplish. So, hey, for now, I'm okay with these movies that we're getting. Could they be better? Of course. And I hope they do get better. But it just seems like making a great FNAF movie is a little impossible at the moment. But with that being said, that's all I've got. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about FNAF 1 and 2 so far? Also, what do you think it would take to make a really good FNAF movie? Be sure to let me know. As always, thank you so much for making it to the end. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.